Welcome back to Midnight Screams, your favorite place for chilling stories and spine-tingling tales. Today's video comes with a special twist, a competition for $25. Somewhere in this video, there will be a hidden 4-digit code, split into 4 separate numbers. Your mission is to find all the numbers, piece them together, and comment the full code on any of my social media so I can contact you. I'll ask you about the code there. If your answer is correct, you win $25. Now, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's begin. Growing up in a small town means that everyone knows everybody and everything about them. When I was in elementary school, there was this kid, let's call him E. I don't want to use his real name. He lived about a quarter mile from my house. His family was extremely poor, living in a very dilapidated trailer. On top of having very little money, they had another son, older than E, who was severely mentally handicapped. He could not walk, could not learn to speak, use the bathroom, or eat on his own. E's father worked in a factory, while his mom stayed home to care for their brother. Even though they had financial struggles, they tried to give their children a safe space to grow up. Even though we lived in the backwoods middle of nowhere town, kids would make fun of E for coming from a poor household. He wasn't always the best smelling, greasy hair, and his clothes were old hand-me-downs. If you know children, you know they can be cruel. They hurled insults and disgust towards him for things out of his control. I never joined in on the teasing. I was friends with those who teased him but never joined. I would sit next to him on the bus ride to school. Even though we were not friends, we did have one thing in common: Transformers. For his birthday and Christmas, he would always get a Transformer or two. I remember in 4th grade when the live-action Transformers movie came out on DVD, I gave him it as a birthday present on our way to school. Even though we were friendly with each other, the hazing and bullying he faced along with the hardships of growing up in a low-income household, where most of the attention goes to a handicapped brother, took its toll on his mental health. I saw him every day at school from kindergarten to 6th grade. Watched this kid that acted like any other kid slowly morph into a hermit that never talked and would have outbursts at least once a week. I struggled with school throughout elementary school. My parents decided to pull me out of public school and homeschool me until I was caught up with other kids my age. I was angry about it at the time, but in the end I was happy they did. We would see you walk down the entire length of the road, which was about 4 miles every day. A scrawny teen talking to himself every day walking down this road after the junior high got out of school. A year later, in 8th grade, I noticed I didn't see him anymore. I texted one of my friends, who went to school with E, if he knew how he was. My friend said that he had asked a girl out at school and had been rejected and ridiculed in front of everyone in the hallway. He was so angry and mentally unwell that the next day he brought his father's handgun to school. He waited until she went into the girl's locker room. When she entered, he went in after her and pulled the gun out. He raised it up and pulled the trigger. The gun clicked. Luckily, there were no bullets in the gun. A staff member saw him go in after the girl and went to go pull him out. They saw the firearm and tackled him to the ground. He was arrested and served 3 years in juvenile detention for his crime. When he got out later in high school, he was even further gone. He never went back to school. Now every day, all day, he would walk this road, talking to himself, yelling at the cows in the fields and cars driving by. I heard he tried for the military, but was turned away. He wore a military get-up with a bomber leather jacket and a beret every day, no matter rain or shine. I was riding my bike to my friend's house when I passed by him. I stopped and said hi. I hadn't spoken to him since the last day of 6th grade. He yelled at me that he would kill me and my family for bullying him. I just rode to my friend's house and took another way back home at the end of the day. When it was time, I left for college, never thinking about E or his threat again. I came home for summer break after my freshman year of college. I saw him walking down the road. Our eyes met as I drove past him, and he screamed "kill" at me. I knew that he knew what road I lived down, but not the house. I parked in the garage because I saw him running after me as I turned down the road. I had lost him in his chase. Hard to keep up with a car when you're on foot. I went about my day at home with my parents, and everything was normal. Later that night, I was getting settled down for bed. I opened my window in my room on the 2nd story to let in cool summer night air into my stuffy room. I awoke sometime around 2 a.m. to a creak outside my door. Thinking it is probably one of my family members walking in the hall to the bathroom or going downstairs, I went back to sleep. It must have been 20 or 30 minutes later I heard another creak. I recognized this creak, one I heard every morning when I stood in front of my closet. I shot up to see a lanky figure lit up by the pale light of the moon shining in through my open window. I quickly got out of bed. It was E. He was standing there. I ran out quickly. I didn't want to fight. I didn't know what he had on him. A gun? A knife? I would rather not find out fighting in the dark. I yelled, waking up my family as I ran out into the hall and slamming the door behind me. My family came out, and I yelled, "Run." It was at this moment that E bolted out the door as well. He sprinted down the stairs and out the door. My dad called the cops, and they came to take our statement. We told them who it was and where he lived. They went to his home to question him. He wasn't home, though, and they never found him. It's been 7 years since that night. I have since moved further away from that house, and so has my parents. I always kept my eye out for E every time I visited home till I permanently moved away. I never did see him again, and the police never followed up. I feel like I never bullied him or hazed him. I tried being friendly with him when we were growing up. Some people just don't have good mental health. Bullying can further the decline, which in this case I got the consequences of his childhood. I hope he is getting the help he needs in a home and professionally.